bodies, which they helped to bury. After 2 more weeks of marching around northern Illinois, Lincoln's company was mustered out. He re-enlisted for 20 days in a mounted company, and when that term expired, he joined a company of spies and scouts and spent another 20 days performing reconnaissance. On July 10th, Lincoln's military career came to an end. He had served a little less than 12 weeks without seeing combat. The troops he left behind decisively defeated Black Hawk's band, massacring many Indians and taking the chief himself prisoner. Fortunately, however, if he had no military future, he had already started another career in politics. In March, before beginning his short service in the Illinois militia, Lincoln had announced his candidacy for the state legislature. Now, he devoted all of his energy to that campaign. He was passionate about local issues, such as navigational improvements on the Sangamon River. 6'4", he towered over his rivals and cast an intimidating shadow. Brawny and adept with an axe, he sometimes made a show of splitting logs. He demonstrated his strength in other ways. When a fight broke out during his first campaign speech, Lincoln grabbed the assailant by his neck and the seat of his trousers, he later recounted, and threw him out of the fight. In the August 6th election, he finished 8th in a field of 13. The top 4 were elected. In his home precinct of New Salem, Lincoln was favored by all but 23 of the 300 voters, but he was hurt by his lack of money and state connections. It would not be his last losing race, but Abe Lincoln had found his calling. Lincoln would later poke fun at his military record. His only combat, he said, was with the mosquitoes, but he had seen enough of the aftermath of war to make a lifetime impression. For many years, he called his election as militia captain a success which gave me more pleasure than any I have had since. Lincoln was rewarded for his military service with a federal land grant of 40 acres in Iowa. During those 3 months in the spring and summer of 1832, he also made the kind of friends that were crucial for a budding politician. Meeting volunteers from different parts of the state was useful to him politically, for it extended his reputation, wrote Lincoln biographer David Herbert Donald. While he was in the Army, he came into contact with a number of rising young political leaders of the state, like Orville Hickman Browning, a cautious, conservative Quincy lawyer, who would become one of his most influential and critical friends. More important was his acquaintance with John Todd Stewart, a Springfield lawyer who served as major in the same battalion as Lincoln. In the early 1830s, Lincoln became an admirer of Henry Clay, the senator from Kentucky, who with Daniel Webster of Massachusetts had formed the Whig Party to oppose the big government policies of President Andrew Jackson. The Whigs followed a Jeffersonian model of democracy, which demanded compromise and balance in government, and made a priority of national unity and territorial expansion. Though the Whig Party would become defunct by 1856, Lincoln held to its philosophies. After his election to president in 1861, he professed to friends to be an old-line Whig, a disciple of Henry Clay. While serving as New Salem's postmaster and then county surveyor, Lincoln studied privately to become a lawyer. His second campaign for the state legislature in 1834 was successful, and he won re-election 3 times to the Illinois House of Representatives. After passing the bar exam in 1836, he moved to Springfield to practice law, first under John Todd Stewart, and later starting his own practice with partner William Herndon, his eventual biographer. In Springfield, Lincoln met Mary Todd, a favorite cousin of his friend and mentor, whom he married in November 1842. In the state legislature, Lincoln voted to approve construction of the Illinois and Michigan Canal, and to expand voting rights to white males who were not landowners. He also began to attract attention with his free soil stance, opposing both slavery and abolitionism. "The institution of slavery," he said in 1837, "is founded on both injustice and bad policy, but the promulgation of abolition doctrine tends rather to increase than abate its evils." 6 years later, elected to represent Illinois in the U.S. House, Lincoln chose a side. With abolitionist Ohio